Thank you for welcoming me onto your screens or onto your headphones, depending on how you're watching this. I'm Eddie, and this is the Rollback. Folks, today I'll be talking about Moon Knight, aka so much better than it had any right or it deserved to be. Moon Knight, starring Oscar Isaac. The dude deserves an Emmy, an Oscar, a Grammy. I know that doesn't make sense, but fuck, he deserves all those awards. Incredible actor, but let's go into the cast real quick before I jump into how great the show is. Real quick, and I have a list. So, Oscar Isaac, obviously playing our titular Moon Knight, but he also plays Stephen Grant, he plays Jake Lockley, he plays Mark Spector, he plays this whole wide cast of characters, and to his credit, he jumps from seemingly personality to personality on a whim. I don't know how much of it is editing, but it's hard for an actor to play one character very well. Oscar Isaac plays two and at one point three characters very well. So props to him on that. They got the right actor. I think this is like what, his second Marvel role technically. I know he was Apocalypse, but they didn't give him anywhere near enough to do with that character. Great actor, great part, and I hope we get to see more Moon Knight. But he wasn't the only one in this. We also have, I'm sorry if I butcher any of these names, Miss May Calloway playing Leia, aka the Scarlet Scarab. She's her own character. She's at one point even acknowledged she's an Egyptian superhero. Points for inclusivity there. But also Layla is just a badass. Like throughout the whole series, she kicks as much ass as Mark. And that's not hyperbole, that's a fact. She's a badass in this entire show. Pivotal in many parts. She's just awesome, but she has like a personal stake in this. Her and Mark are married / were married. He may or may not have killed her father. He didn't, but he was there. He tried to save him, but he failed. Is that murder? I don't know. Complicated story all around, but a great story nonetheless. We also have one Ethan Hawke playing Arthur Harrow. This crazy cult leader who they even describe as very Steve Jobs-like in trying to better the world. It's very much a Civil War II situation. Whereas his god, Anyway, so Ethan Hawke's god, basically his Egyptian god, says, I judge people before they can commit the crime. Whereas on the other side of the coin, Khonshu, played by Mr. Murray Abraham, he plays the voice of Khonshu, he judges people after they commit the crime. Essentially, he says, you're taking away people's free will, to which her response is, aren't you doing the same thing by stopping me from hurting? Basically, there's a lot of, like, questions here. It's very much a, I don't remember what that movie's called. Prospect 49? Anyway, that Tom Cruise movie where, if you can figure out who's going to commit the crime before they do it, are they even guilty? Or have they even committed the crime? It's one of those things. In Marvel Comics, they famously had Civil War II, where they had a superhero who could predict the future, and they were basically using him to try and find people who were guilty. Captain Marvel thought that was a good idea. Tony Stark thought that was a bad idea, so they had beef. Stark died. It was just this huge thing. But essentially what it comes down to is, when is someone really guilty of a crime? Or is it right to stop them beforehand? Do we take the choice out of people's hands? Just a very complicated plot, also surrounded by Mark Spector and Stephen Grant sharing a body. Props to this show. It actually starts out from the perspective of Stephen Grant. He's a worker at a museum, a curator. He's just a nerd. And we go into this from his perspective. We think he's the main guy. No. Stephen Grant is not the main persona of the body. Mark Spector is. Mark Spector being Moon Knight. We get a very quick glimpse of him at the very end of the first episode. And it's awesome because you even see what a badass he is. A creature tries running from him and he pulls him back and beats the shit out of him in a bathroom. It's all around fun. And the action is just great as well. But the story is also so hard and complicated. The whole time, these two are fighting for control of the body. When come very end of episode 4, they find each other, and you wonder, is this all fake? Are they just in a mental institution? Because you see all these characters from his life, And then Steven and Mark find each other, and they're just so happy. They're like, Mark, Steven, and they're happy, and Oscar Isaac is playing this great part. And then we're not sure if this is real or fake or not, because he's also having these therapy sessions with Ethan Hawke's character. It's all over the place. But then we get episode 5. And I know episode 6 was great, but episode 5 was the best of the series, and it's not even close. Mainly because of the deep psychology we go into this. It's the Mark and Steven show from the get-go, but Mark is trying to hide this dark secret, the stuff he didn't want to talk about. We go in through Steven's perspective as he's discovering these things, and we find out that Mark, when he was a child, him and his brother went exploring, and they died in a cave. And initially we're led to believe, oh, this is the thing that Mark didn't want us to see. And Steven even says, you were just a kid, it wasn't your fault. Like, mate, like, it wasn't your fault. And again, they're still going back and forth. And then we find out the hard part of the series. Mark Spector, his mother used to hit him as a child, used to beat him as a child. And he created Steven as a coping mechanism to deal with the beatings, you know. And it's I'm not going to make any jokes. There are no jokes that are warranted here. It's just you see this brutal part of his past, and Steven, you know, at one point he breaks down saying, I'm just a construct, I'm not a real person, but then he sees what Mark went through and says, it's okay, it wasn't your fault, she shouldn't have done that to you. And even like it's hard because, and I'm not excusing the beatings by any stretch of the imagination, it's a hard situation in general because it's like, he was just a kid. He didn't do it on purpose. Like, it's a hard situation that creates another personality. And as you see him creating this personality to cope with everything that's going on, it's just rough, man. And then we get this emotional climax of Steven and Mark, you know, realizing that they do need each other, that they're brothers in arms, at least in this, trying to get back, trying to get to Khonshu, trying to save the world. Mark is always like the action-y type. The whole series, Mark's like the brawn and Steven's the brains, and then for just a moment it seems like Mark is about to get overwhelmed. He's about to fall over this boat where you fall off, you turn to stone, and Steven takes action and Steven saves him, and Mark is just left there, and you're heartbroken. You know, you have this moment where they coexist, they've had this emotional moment, and then they just fucking rip it out from you. And I was worried that we weren't going to get Steven back, but come episode 6, we do, and we have the climax. We have this crazy battle in Cairo. We have 2 giant monsters duking it out. We have Moon Knight going full badass and then going full Punisher at one point. We have the Scarlet Scarab coming back. We have Leia coming into her own. There's just so much going on in this last episode that's been set up from the very beginning. I think it's called The Harvest. Because you've been setting all this stuff up for the first 5 episodes. The harvest comes at the end, the climax. All the stuff you've been setting up, here are the payoffs. I liked it. Moon Knight, incredible action, great story, heartbreaking background, but nonetheless, a TV series that I would recommend. And maybe this is an argument for TV series above film, because there's no way we would have gotten this attached to Moon Knight, to Mark Spector or Stephen Grant, if we hadn't spent so much time with them, getting to know them, getting to know their personalities, their sequences, how they are as people. Maybe they should do a Moon Knight film next, but I'm glad they did the series first, because I don't think we would have liked them as much. That's one of the good things about these TV series that Marvel's been doing, is by giving us episodes, by stretching this over the course of 3, 4, 5 hours, but as a TV series, we become more attached versus a 2-hour film where this is all we get. Enjoy the story while you can get it. Nonetheless, though, Moon Knight, incredible. I really hope they bring him back. As of right now, they haven't renewed it for season 2. As of right now, Oscar Isaac has publicly stated he doesn't have a contract to come back as the character. He's only set in the TV show. I hope they bring him back. He should come back. You know, they should do a movie next. He should have a trilogy next, because the series was just awesome in general. So this show was great. I can't rank it among the other MCU shows. They're all good in their own way. But personally, I'd give this show a solid A. More than deserving of a watch. Binge it if you can. You're not going to be disappointed. I really want to see Moon Knight as an Avenger. I want to see him as part of the MCU. I want to see Moon Knight have a conversation with himself, like Jake Lockley, Mark Spector, and Steven Grant, all three are arguing, like, at the same time. They're all just talking to each other, sort of. And then you see, like, Spider-Man and Deadpool just watching me like, what the fuck is going on? Dude, I don't know. I don't know. I think that'd be funny. Also, understated, the costume is great. I'm sorry. I wanted to get that out real quick. I really like Mr. Knight's costume. Also, Moon Knight's costume is great. I like every version. This is great. Bring back Oscar Isaac. Bring back Moon Knight. It's awesome. Nonetheless, that's going to cut it for this episode of the Rollback. Did you like Moon Knight? Let us know in the comments below. We also have a podcast that comes out every week, typically, usually, hopefully. And that's going to cut it for this episode. I've been Eddie, and this was the Rollback. I'll see everybody.